This is the lesson where we plan to finish the regular verb in the regular conjugation. We have just a couple verb forms left. Let's today learn the cohortative. When we talk about a cohortative in Hebrew, we use that term as in other languages. The cohortative is how one says, "Let me keep." The cohortative is when a speaker expresses his desire for himself or what he wants for himself. Let me keep. In Hebrew, the form is eshmerah. You can see that the cohortative is simply a first-person imperfect form. There's an aleph on the front with a comet's hay added on the end. Here is the plural cohortative, let us keep, nishmerah. Again, the form is a first-person imperfect. Notice the nun on the front with a comet's hay on the end. This is the pattern throughout the language. Whatever form there is for the first-person imperfect, always with an aleph or a nun on the front, the cohortative will be like it with a comet's hay added on the end. This is also the case with irregular verbs. Let's look at an example of an irregular verb. The word elech in Hebrew means I will go. This is a first-person imperfect from the verb halach. It is an irregular verb. Well, the cohortative will be elecha, let me go. Again, the cohortative is a first-person imperfect with a comet's hay ending. Here is a plural cohortative from an irregular verb. The word nasur means we will turn aside. It's an irregular verb, but the nun on the front is the first-person imperfect. The cohortative is nasura, let us turn aside. Again, the cohortative is a first-person imperfect with a comet's hay added. It is also worth noting that the negative used with the cohortative is the negative al. We have already seen this negative in the immediate prohibition with the jussive. It is the negative used with the verb forms like the cohortative where the speaker expresses his desire or his will. So if you want to say, do not let me keep, you say, al eshmerah. The negative with the cohortative is al. Also, it is true that you don't always need to translate a cohortative with let me keep. Here are some possibilities for the cohortative. It can be let me keep, urging oneself on or asking for permission. You may translate may I keep, expressing more a wish or a prayer. Sometimes you may translate I will keep or I am determined to keep, showing determination or strong desire. The idea in all cases is that the speaker is expressing his will or his desire for himself. Now finally in this lesson we want to learn how to add suffixes to the preposition min. We have already learned the preposition min. It is the common preposition meaning from. It happens that min adds suffixes in an unusual way. Here is what the singular suffixes look like. Mimeni, mimecha, mimech, mimenu, mimena. From me, from you, from him, from her. What happens with this preposition is this. It seems that in many of the forms, the preposition is actually doubled before the suffix is added. It is as if there are two mins, and the nun of the first min assimilates into the mem of the second. Also, the form from him may look unusual to us. It is explained this way. Hu is an alternate suffix for him, which is used quite commonly in Hebrew. When this is added to the end of mim-min, it is assumed that the hay assimilated backwards. At any rate, we come up with mimenu, meaning from him. Here are the forms with the plural suffixes. Mimenu, mikem, miken, mayhem, mayhen. Notice that the form for from us is the same as the form from him, mimenu. Also notice that with the last four forms, the preposition does not double. Mikem, miken, mayhem, mayhen. Here is the full chart. Let me say them again. This is the preposition min, from, with suffixes. Mimeni, mimecha, mimech, mimenu, mimena. Mimenu, mikem, miken, mayhem, mayhen. Today we come to the last verb form to add to the chart of the regular verb. What's left is the jussive. When in Hebrew we speak about a jussive, we use the term in the same way it is used in other languages. The jussive is used for an expression like, let him keep, or may he keep. The jussive is when the speaker expresses his desire or his will for a third person. In Hebrew, the usual form of the jussive is exactly the same as the third person imperfect. The jussive is yishmor. That means that the verb form yishmor can either be translated he will keep, like a regular imperfect, or it can be translated let him keep, like a jussive. The context will have to determine. In Hebrew, we also have a second person jussive. It would be translated may you keep, expressing the speaker's will for another person. Again, the form for the second person jussive is usually the same as the imperfect, tishmor. So the verb form tishmor could either be translated you will keep as an imperfect, or may you keep as a jussive. The context will have to determine. You may remember also that in a previous lesson we learned that the second person jussive is used with the negative al to form an immediate prohibition. So with jussives, the first thing to note is that jussives are usually the same form as a second or third person imperfect. There is something more to say, however. It happens that sometimes the jussive will be a different form, and sometimes the jussive will be a shortened imperfect form. Let's look at some examples. The imperfect of the verb to be is yeh, he will be. The jussive, let him be, is yehi. The jussive is shortened from the imperfect, and this shortening takes place primarily with verbs that end in he. The he likes to fall off in the jussive form. Here's another example. Yigle is an imperfect form that means he will uncover. The jussive is yiggle. This also is a verb that ends in he, and in the jussive, the he falls off. So what we can expect with jussives again is this. Usually they will be the same as a second or third person imperfect. Sometimes they will be a shortened imperfect. Still, there is one more important thing to note about jussives. Jussives take the negative al just like cohortatives. So if you want to say, do not let him keep, you say, al yishmor. Sometimes this can be very helpful in identifying a verb as a jussive as opposed to an imperfect. Remember that a regular imperfect will have the negative lo. So if you want to say, he will not keep, you say, lo yishmor. If you want to say, do not let him keep, however, you say, al yishmor. So the negative al, when present, can be a good indicator that a verb should be considered as a jussive and not as an imperfect.